Shalom, shalom, everybody. It's your brother Leon, the servant, back here with another video. Hope everyone's doing well on this Yah blessed day. All right, the topic at hand: the seven deadly spirits, or commonly spoken of as the seven deadly sins. I want to first elaborate on why I changed the name and the origins that deals with this theology. So first off, let's deal with the name change. Right. A lot of people connotate pride, lust, greed, envy, and the like to all simply be sins. And I'm not saying that they're not. But during this time, a lot of people seem to be not in the proper state of mind. They seem to be led by a nefarious motives, and that leads to spirit possession, or spirits inhabitants, or coercion, right? And they're not just merely simple sins, right? Now I want to talk about the origin briefly. Now the origin of the seven deadly sins is a theology that is practiced, or that was made known, popular by the Roman Catholic Church. And when keeping that in mind, they place a higher value or a higher order on certain sins and certain virtues, and the seven deadly sins are also known as cardinal sins, and as an aspect that they are ones that leads and are gateway openers to other sins, right? And I want to say that Catholics stole this theology from the Bible. And the reason why I say stole instead of extracted or derived or got from the Bible is because Catholics believe that they have the right to change scripture as seen fit. They have done it in the past and believe that people like priests and deacons have the right to change scriptures and have the appropriate interpretations. And I simply just do not adhere or agree with that, all right? So that's why I say stolen, right? Because if you can freely manipulate your source, then, and you say that it's all credit onto you, and not give credit to the Most High and to His Spirit for revealing these things, then you're nothing more than a mere thief. You have walks and acts of godliness, but deny the power of where it comes. Right. So I want to cover three in particular sins or spirits, and I want to talk about how to combat them. Now, to be honest, the solution for all sin and for all of these things that I will be covering is fairly simple. And I just merely want to discuss some of the intricacies and nuances that we can face going through it, and some of the psychology and certain spiritual aspects and components to each one of these. So I will be breaking them down. But the solution for these spirits as a whole is fasting, right? Physically and mentally. So this can be food, lack of food intake, and your environment, changing it, or isolating yourself. You can also prayer, making those requests unto the Most High, seeking the Most High, right? And meditation on the Word, right? Reading it, being edified by it, and also meditation on your past actions and where they have led, reflecting. Using these three together, I feel as though that you can overcome any of these spirits. You can overcome any of these sins, right? For we are not bound endlessly onto them, right? So let's dive into it. I want to cover pride, I want to cover wrath, and I want to cover greed. And I want to do it in that order, right? And I want to bring up first pride. Let's get into it. Pride or ego is something that everyone has to some degree, to some portion of them, right? You should feel well accomplished for the things you do, but it becomes unhealthy when you take on the spirit of haughtiness, right? When you take on the spirit of better than thou syndrome, right? And I want to cover a few scriptures on this, and then I want to cover a few ways to circumvent this nature and to really reflect upon it and build on. So let's go Proverbs 16 and 18. It says this: pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Right? When you see pride rise up in a person, it's right before they fall. It's like, oh no, I got this. I could do it all on my own, and then they're proven wrong. Right? And pride and confidence are two vastly different qualities and attributes of a person. And I want to read on. Let's get some more edification on where pride comes in as a stumbling block. Proverbs 16 and 5 reads on. It says, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination unto the Lord. Through his hand is joined in hand. He shall not be unpunished. Right? You know, the Most High is the orchestrator of all things. You know, he controls the light and the dark. And by thinking that you alone is how you got anywhere is foolish and is mocking the Most High. And no one shall steal the glory of the Most High. All right, so let's read on. Proverbs 13 and 10, it says, only by pride cometh contention, but with the well advised is wisdom. See, pride comes in and starts to breed strife. You start getting that spirit, well, I could do it better than him, or I don't need that person around, or I. It's where pride comes from. Is you think that you are the showstopper. Everything is supposed to revolve around you, right? And true that we perceive only the world through our own eyes, the world truly does not revolve around us. And though we have much influence, we cannot control anything outside of ourselves. Right? Just something to think about. It says Proverbs 11 and 2, when pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. See, when you have this prideful nature, you start to enact and do things that will compromise yourself, right? You start to put yourself in situations that if you didn't have pride, or if you just asked for help, or if you kept your mouth shut, that you wouldn't have found yourself in a predicament of where you are in, right? And it's very interesting. It's very interesting because pride comes from the absence of humility, of meekness. And when those two components are missing in one's character, they breed arrogance. And I would say the remedy to pride is to circle yourself around others who are much greater than yourselves, and to set standards much higher than you think is achievable, right? For, I guess, as I said previously, pride comes from the absence of humility. So I go to this verse right here. It's 1 Peter 5 and 5, and it says this: likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility, for God resisteth the proud and giveth grace to the humble. Right? When you surround yourself around others who are vastly ahead, right? If that's at work, or if that's monetarily, or if that's in your craft, or if that's in music, and so on and so forth, you will realize that the world isn't circling around you, you will realize that there are greater people, right? And when you reflect and think about Hamashiach or Christ, when you reflect and think about David and Moses and Solomon, have you contributed as much as they have? Have you have saved as many people as they have saved through their actions through the Most High? Are you worthy to be counted amongst such great and grand people? And before you speak, think, when was the last time that you went out of your way to help someone that you thought needed help and did not look down upon them? You know, and it's crazy because pride goes right in next to wrath, right? So we're going to make a seamless transition. See, pride puts you in this haughty spirit that you think that you are higher than thou, and that whatever you say goes. And you have the complete insight and foresight of said situation. And this allows you to get angry when people don't do things the way you want them to be done, right? This is what puts you in a state of, well, I said this and they just don't listen to me and yada, yada, yada. And that's what they had coming for them, right? So let's talk about wrath real quick. So we all know that vengeance is of the Lord's, right? And we all know that Proverbs 15:1-4. And it says this: a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge of right, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. See, by you falling into this pit of wrath, this pit of pride, you are breaching your spirit. You are opening up your spirit to do more lascivious and cruel acts, right? You have no mercy, right? And the thing is this: you have no mercy, but you have not done anything to even withhold that chamber or that chair, right? Have you endured all sin? Have you led people who mocked you and your God? Have you withstood the times of enslavement of your people and tried to show them the right light, and they all caved in and it's only you and 2 or 3 of your brothers? I mean, have you have all the wisdom in the world and still your own people fall? You fall? I mean, we have access to all this knowledge, yet we still stumble. And you think that you have the right to be prideful? You think you have the right to wrath when you have done wrong? And I want to speak on this parable that Christ gave, right? And I thought this fits hand in hand with wrath, right? And arrogance and pride. And it says this, Matthew 18:21-35. We're going to get some reading in. Then come Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? And Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but 70 times 7. A lot of people say, okay, 70 times 7, that's supposed to be very merciful. But then Christ expounds upon why you should be so merciful, as you've received the same multitude of mercy. And he goes on and says this, therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. Now, from my research and from my understanding, 10,000 talents is roughly $100 million, right? And it's something along the account of most people will never be able to pay back, right? It is astronomically high. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and his children and all that he had in payment to be made. So his Lord is like, hey, you owe me this money, and since you can't, I'm going to get my money's worth out of you and everything you possess. But listen on to what happens for them. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of the servant was moved with compassion and loosened him and forgave him the debt. Now, as I said, that money astronomically high. But the Lord, the King, has forgiven him. As the Most High has forgiven us of the multitude of sins that we have done. All right, let's keep reading on. Let's read to what the servant does. But the servant went out and found one of his fellow servants. So this guy has people who works under him, maybe maids, maybe plant vineyards, what have you, right? Which owed him 100 pence, right? So this could be something around a few $1,000s, a few $100,000. It could be quite expensive for an average person, and if you're making minimum wage, it could be almost impossible to seemingly to pay off because you have more incurrent debts. And he laid hands on him. So this man that owed him money, he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, besought him, saying, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not. So the servant is asking the same thing of his master as his master did unto the king, right? But the master ain't hearing it. He doesn't understand that same mercy that was given unto him, that same grace that he should be giving on to those who are under him, that owes him debt. Mind you, if you owed hundreds of millions of dollars and that debt was removed from you, imagine the place of prosperity you are now put in. Right? You can think of any company. Think of any company that all their debt for 1 year was removed, and imagine how much more they can reinvest, how much more they can move forward. Right? Let's keep getting it. So we're going to take it back from verse 29. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, have patience with me, and I will pay thee. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he shall pay the debt. Now, if this makes any sense, why would you put someone in prison that owes you debt? How can they ever pay it back? Think about child support. It makes no sense. All right. It only hinders you and puts you further behind. But let's keep reading on. So when his fellow servants saw what he had done, they were very sorrowing, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. So they went and told the king, right? The king of the province or the king of the whole entire land, what have you. And the king heard this. Now let's read on. Then his Lord, after that he had called him and said unto him, how thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all thy debt because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I have pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him into the torments, till he shall pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not everyone his brother their trespasses. Right? So, mercy. You know, the king heard everything that happened. He's like, wait, didn't I just forgive him something that he couldn't pay back? Didn't I show mercy? And now he has the audacity to think that he's in the state that he can go and start pinching pennies and start hurting the people who are under him to gain that same, or actually a fraction of the money that he owed me? How dare he? That's like a spit in his face. See, when the Most High shows compassion onto us, right, that opens the door for us to show compassion onto others. For we can surely say, I did not deserve these things, so I should give mercifully the things that were given unto me. And this goes perfectly into greed. But I want to take a note real quick on wrath, right? Because a lot of people will think things of this sort. Well, there's a time and a place to hate, right? There's a time and a place to kill, right? As I said previously, vengeance is for the Lord, but let's cover that real quick. Ecclesiastes 3, and we're going to jump around here. So we're going to start at verse 1, and then we're going to jump down to verse 3. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Now we're going to 3. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. Okay, now we're going to jump down to 9. What profit hath he that worketh in wherein he laboreth? Right? And let's go jump down one more time to 11. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work of God maketh from the beginning to the end. Right? So there's a season, there's a time and a place for this, right? But can you say it's honestly the right time to be harsh and wicked onto someone when you are still at fault and you still have issues and you still have problems? Now, granted, the interesting part about the whole mercy is that when it came to the king, the master or the servant asked for forgiveness. The king gave it. Then when it came to the servant asked for forgiveness unto the master, and he did not forgive it. See, there was a request of coming together in forgiveness, right? And I'm not saying that you should just freely give out this, right? It has to be something that is requested upon. But do think, be not a hypocrite, right? So let's move on. Let's move on to wrath, right? Oh, my bad. Move on to greed. And we're going to go to Ecclesiastes 5 and 10. And it reads this: He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor that he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. When a person makes a few 100,000, then they want 1,000,000, they get 1,000,000, they want a few 100,000,000, then they want 1,000,000,000, and so on and so forth. If solely the purpose of gaining money is to gain more money, then your goals will never cease. Your ambition, your lust, your greed for money would never cease, right? And let's go down to Hebrews 13 and 5. It reads this: Let your conversation be without covetousness, and content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I never leave thee nor forsake thee. See, we get so caught up in the things of this world. We get so caught up in the possessions that we have. We get so caught up in money. But everything is taken care of by the Most High. This goes back to the forgiveness of the Most High. Do you really need money if you have clothes? Do you really need money if you have food? Do you really need money if you have shelter? If all those things are provided unto you, then money is only a tool. It's only a level of a defense against the elements, a defense against poverty. But poverty is the lack of abundance. All right. So let's keep reading on. And it says this in Luke 12 and 15. And it reads, And he saith unto them, Take heed and be aware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things which he possesseth. Let's read that one more time. And he said unto them, Take heed, and be aware of covetousness. For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things which he possesseth. The things that you have do not make your life. They can add on to them, but they do not make the whole sum of your life. If you didn't have your TV, right? If you didn't have a couch, right? If you didn't have a library full of books, that is not the sum, the total of your life. Your life does not cease to end. And as we're moving more into this technologically advanced or technological advanced world, right? With the metaverse, with all these other things that's trying to engulf our attention, right? We need to be aware that those things do not make us, but simply additions. All right, let's keep moving on. Proverbs 15:27, and it says this: He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. Right? You know, if you always need the newest flat screen TV or the newest console or the newest game, right? The people around you will suffer. They will suffer in one or two ways. One, they will suffer in the aspect that to maybe appease you or to show some similitude of love, they might give you a gift and you're not satisfied because you want something new. Or because of your greed for your self-gain, that you wind up taking away from necessities in the house. You wind up being a lion roaring in your own house because I need this, I need to do this, and I need that, I need this, right? And can never enjoy the things that are around you that you cannot pay for with money, right? And this goes to the metaverse, and this also goes to what I was speaking of before. And this is also the solution to greed. If you find yourself dealing with greed, the solution is charity. All right, I just want to make that clear. Let me make sure I make all the points clear previously. The solution to pride is being humble. And one way to find that is to put yourself around people who are much greater than yourself. The solution to wrath is to think about the tender mercy of the Most High having on you. The fact that you probably deserve, not probably, you deserve to die in your sins. We all should have been done like the remnant of Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? So now, let's read on to charity. 1 Peter 4:7-11. But at the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. Don't be a Grinch. And I don't mean in the aspects of hating on giving in Christmas. No. You know how I mean it. You have, and you see people who are less fortunate. You see people that you can help. You see people you can talk, spend your time with. You see people that you can influence and impact. You see people that you can lift up. Spend that time. Spend that money. Be charitable. Learn that all these material possessions is a means to an end. Let's read on. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. And if any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Right. And that was a 3 out of the 7 deadly spirits I wanted to speak about. Right? I hope that this was edifying and it caused and provoked thought and will ensue action. With that being said, shalom and peace.